Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I am Nada Hayrapetyan, a reporter from Language and Culture 103, and today we will be analyzing satirical sketches of a famous Armenian blogger and comedian, Ashot Hovhannisyan. Today, we will have us join four of my colleagues and experts of satirical communication: Palma Gevorkyan, Anahit Nersisyan, Erik Markaryan, and Harutun Bashradyan. The comedian Ashot Hovhannisyan usually portrays an Armenian traditional relative who appears to be a woman. The characters of women in this particular comedian's sketches are often depicted as rude, ill mannered, and unethical, with no or very little respect for boundaries. The comedian mainly uses words and tones to emphasize the brutality and harshness of traditional women. But for now, I will give the floor to my colleague Palma to explain this humor. Hello, Palma. After watching the sketches of Ashot Hovhannisyan, could you please tell us how the incongruity theory helps to explain what's hilarious in this humor?
Hello everyone. I hope you are doing good. And I think you already know that our today's project and our today's presentation is um, concentrated on Ashot Hovhannisyan's videos and how with in what ways I will try to explain why is it funny to our audience and what are the theories that can go along with it. So first of all, let's start with the fact that he's very well-known Armenian content creator, and almost everyone knows about his videos and what he portrays in them, what he wants to say somehow. And I would say that he uses exaggerated movements and domestic settings to parody the figure of the Armenian woman. His sharp gestures, dramatic pacing, and also such postures mimic the stereotypical image of women who are moody, gossip driven, and also controlling. These performances usually take place in kitchen or living room, and reinforcing the idea that Armenian women belong at home. As we already, like, I feel discussed it, that Armenian women in our classes as well, they are not seen just as like people who can succeed in their life, but they're mostly seen as people who belong to home, and all their life should be concentrated on their family, around their family, and around their house. Yeah, we discussed it as well, and I will try to explain the theories that will go with his videos. And besides all that, I feel it's important to discuss that the platforms he posts in, it's Instagram Reels and TikTok, and these are the platforms that are perfect for his humor, and they allow quick character changes, close-ups, and exaggerated expressions. So for instance, there are vertical videos, and they focus our attention on his face, and the cheap props like a towel on his head, and Armenian language captions add a sense of humor, a cultural intimacy, especially for the local people and diasporan Armenians. That's why his videos go more viral and viral. And also about the theory of incongruity theory, it is described by a philosopher, John Morel, and his theory says that humor comes from violating our expectations in a harmless way. Ashot creates laughter by taking familiar Armenian behaviors um, and pushing them into observed territory. For example, there was a video where he portrayed two women that are pretend to like each other, but in reality, besides the scenes, and you can see in their mood changes, in a way they talk, in their speech, how much hate there is for each other. So this is how this is both. It is being funny, but at the same time, it is rooted in our reality and exaggerated beyond the reason. And also, there is another theory that goes with his videos as well. There is a theory of Judith Butler and of gender performative that helps explain the impact of his videos on our lives. Ashot does not just dress like an Armenian woman, he performs her. He repeats behaviors society has coded as feminine or judgment, emotional control, even casual homophobia. These acts reveal that gender roles are not natural. They are performed so often, they just seem to be natural. So while his videos make us laugh, also hold up a mirror, forcing us to see the scripts we follow and maybe rethink them in our heads, in our minds. And I feel that's what I wanted to say for this time, and I will let my colleague and to go and expand more on this topic.
Thank you, Padma, for analyzing this for us. I completely agree with your viewpoints. And now we have our next guest expert, Anahit Nersisyan, joining us. Hello, Anahit. My question to you is, do you think there is a mismatch between how he delivers his jokes and the subjects that he is depicting? If yes, what does the mismatch allow the humor to hide?
Hi everyone, and thank you for the question. I think it's really important that we keep having these conversations. And about the question, I want to say that to me it's very obvious that Ashot's content follows a familiar pattern where he takes a very painful, emotional, and like socially complex issues and presents them in an exaggerated, over-the-top, costume-heavy way, which where the humor is loud and but the content is quite dark. So, for example, in one video, a man is dressed as a middle-aged woman and she begins carpet washing. This is obviously a very culturally familiar and labor-intensive task. And in the video, the woman starts saying, like, she starts addressing socioeconomic issues. She says, "Other women are laundering their men's money. I'm washing the carpet. I wash everything with dish soap. Only my teeth are left." And then she pulls like a clump of hair off the carpet and says, "This is what living under stress with you is like." So it's clear that the character is complaining, but there's no deeper commentary in the video or from the comedian's side, and it's just normalized portrayal of hardship, poverty, and gendered labor. And in another video, which is worse, there's violence towards a mother and a child, and the trivialization of menstrual pain, and serious, almost disturbing issues like this, and the dismissal of women's suffering. It's just all play for laughs, which kind of is like, very questionable. But because there's this big mismatch between the content and the form, it doesn't let us critique it. It hides under the phrase of, "I'm just joking," and it softens real problems, making them almost socially acceptable, although they already are. And since the comedian frames these as just depictions of women from his life, the space for critique is blurred even further.
Thank you, Anahit, for your elaboration. Though I have one more question to you. We observe people watching and laughing at this satire. My question to you is, who laughs and who gets silenced in here, and what kind of worldview do you think is being affirmed or challenged?
Once again, I think the answer is complex but straightforward because everybody laughs. In Armenia, everybody is exposed to these realities, especially people of the middle or lower class. And I don't think the audience has an age or a gender, but rather the laughter comes from a shared experience. And still, in some cases, this laughter is very problematic, especially when it caters to audiences that are desensitized to gender-based violence or they find taboo topics such as menstruation inherently funny. And in Ashot's videos, women, especially the working class or middle-aged women, are reduced to caricatures. Their real voices and struggles are erased, and they are replaced by like shallow stereotypes. And these videos don't challenge the worldview they portray. social media audiences are already desensitized to gender norms and violence. And for these portrayals are not a matter of question, they're a matter of reality. And Ashot never reclaims these moments as critique. His tone stays light, like I know his captions are always like a funny joke, and I think in one of the videos where his character is beating a woman and a child, the caption is "My soul is freezing like winter, divine comedy," and laughing emojis. And this makes it clear the goal isn't to question; it is just to entertain.
Once again, thank you very much, Anahit, for your excellent analysis of the satire. But we're not done yet. Our next speaker is Eric Markarian, who will be telling us about the characters present in these videos and what the jokes are actually about. Hello, Eric.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for your question. So, he makes videos, he makes comedy videos about people we know and love, like Armenian moms, Armenian grandmothers, and he uses stereotypes. And to exactly answer the question, it's him in the videos. It's 90% of the time it's him, and whenever there has to be another character played, he'll usually play it in wearing different clothes, and he won't show his face most of the time. And if there has to be a woman character, he'll wear women's clothes. He'll put a wig on and everything. So he'll try to impersonate the other person perfectly, and he does a good job at it, to be honest. And regarding his content format, it's usually like 30-second to 1 minute videos of him stereotyping women and basically just impersonating how Armenian mothers and grandmothers are at home and making funny videos about how Armenian parents or mothers are yelling at their children and their children are not listening at them, and a lot of people find it very funny and because they relate to it. And this is the thing with Armenian culture: if they relate to something, I mean, not just Armenian culture and people in general, if they're going to relate to something, they find it very funny. And yes, some people can find it funny, but in my opinion, it's not that funny because you're basically womanizing women and making stereotypes, well, making videos upon those stereotypes. And when other people look at it, let's say non-Armenian people or people that are just not as embedded into our culture, they see Armenian women in this way and they think that's how it is just because one person talks about it and makes these videos. It makes Armenian women look bad. Some people may find it as a joke, but others may find it disrespectful, and you honestly don't know which person is going to look at it in what way. And it's going to affect how people look at Armenian women in our society. As much as you think it's just a joke, you think it's just a video on Instagram, people watch it, scroll, and they just don't really care, but it can actually affect how other people think of Armenian women in our society, and that's really bad in my opinion, because you shouldn't be judging and stereotyping women like that. Now I want to go over his target audience. So he reaches platforms like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all the major social media platforms, which there are people from ages 16 all the way up to 50, 60 years old. So he reaches a wide range of people, and most of these people relate to what he says because, let's say, a 16-year-old relates to it the way in a way that it's his mother, and a 50-year-old woman looking at it relates to it and as how they treat their children, or they laugh at it saying, oh, this is how my mother used to treat me. And everyone relates to his videos, almost everyone that is Armenian, that has had a strict mother, for example. And some other people can just find it flat out disrespectful, and depends on which way you look at it. Personally, in my way, some of his videos can be funny and some of his videos can go overboard. And to wrap up my part, he's funny, he's a comedian, but what he does, personally, I don't respect it that much. And just think about something when you're looking at something. Yeah, you laugh at it, but think about what you're laughing at, because some other people can look at it as disrespectful or, I don't know, stereotypical. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric, for your elaboration. Now I will give the floor to my fellow colleague Harut Bashratian, who will tell us what in Ashot's satires is being actually normalized. So, Harut, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the question. So, in the real, what is made normal is the association of housework, particularly tasks like carpet cleaning, with women's duty and identity. The scene itself also reflects the gender division of labor, which has long been entrenched in patriarchal societies where domestic work was naturalized as part of a woman's role. This aligns with Anne Oakley's foundational research, where she argued that the foundational sphere was historically feminized and that the housework was not necessarily and inherently feminine, but it was socially constructed as such. The women's persistence in completing tasks despite discomfort or a fatigue also reinforces a normalized expectation that women should push through pain or exhaustion without complaint. Women were not only expected to complete their paid labor, but also to come home and complete a second shift of unpaid labor of housework tasks often without shared responsibility. Furthermore, the reel normalizes a contradictory dynamic. Women judge men for not helping them, but they continue to bear the brunt of domestic work themselves. This kind of normalization of resentful compliance points to what Sarah Ahmed discusses as feminist snap moments where frustration is felt but not enough to dismantle the cycle. It is instead folded into daily life as an emotional norm. Through interrogation of what is being downplayed and normalized, the reel reflects the idea of gendered expectations of competence, where women presume to be better at or more capable of household tasks. Hence, several contradictions emerge. First of all, why is doing everything herself was seen as a source of pride, not burden? I think this may reflect the character's internalized cultural values, which equates to feminine trait and competence with silent endurance. Why is competence in housework tied to a woman's identity? Competence becomes a performance of worth. Judy Butler's theory of gender performativity helps us to understand this because repeated behaviors like cleaning well are what construct and affirm gender identity. Why is masculinity measured based on domestic behavior? The phrase, and you call yourself a man, perfectly shows that masculinity is still measured against outdated ideals of labor division. It critiques the failure of men to engage in housework, but still upholds the theory that real men do not do such work.
Thank you very much, Harut. We're very happy that you accepted the offer to be interviewed here. So, adding to my colleague's points, we can observe that the comedian is using hand gestures as a method to give the woman manly or clumsy features. He also uses a clumsy walk, a high-sounding hand clap to pop the manliness of the woman. And as we know, loud and active characters are usually assigned to men in traditional environments. Another thing that is integrated into the act of the comedian is the kinesic humor, which refers to the humor that arises from body language, facial gestures, and other nonverbal methods to communicate the character's satire. Furthermore, the costume usage is also very well thought in here. Costumes always make the character pop and give the audience a subconscious deduction about the character. In the sketches, wigs and female clothes are used all the time, but not in a way that would be expected to be worn. Rather, the comedian uses the clothes to once again highlight the clumsiness or the carelessness of the woman, hence giving her a manly appearance. An instance of that is the barely buttoned skirt, which entails the haphazard manners of the woman. This also sheds light onto her body image. Um, also, it silently body shames her. Overall, Ashot uses many methods like body language, costumes, voice, and tone, uh, platforms and the incongruity theory in order to normalize or belittle the depiction of the Armenian women, which is, by the way, demoralizing. I once again want to thank my colleagues for agreeing to be in this interview and sharing their priceless views on this satirical performer. And I will see you next week to discuss the political satires regarding President Trump's discourse with President Zelensky. Have a wonderful day.